Today I'm going to show you how you can use a GPS with your map and compass. Hi, I'm Kevin and welcome to my channel. If you have a GPS like this that has mapping functions on it, you can certainly use the GPS all by itself to navigate with. You'll be just fine. However, there's an awful lot of reasons why you might want to incorporate a map and compass with that GPS. GPSs do have their limitations. They all take batteries, which will eventually run low, and the map on them usually isn't very large. It's certainly not as large as a real map, and that real map gives you that broader geographic context when you're looking at the landscape around you. When I'm out on a canoe trip, I always bring a map with me. It gives me a great reference to the landscape around me, and it gives me a much better perspective than the little tiny screen on my GPS. I do bring a GPS almost every time, but I like to leave it off, especially on longer trips to conserve batteries. When I need the GPS, I'll get it out, I'll turn it on, I'll check my location, and then I'll go back to the map. GPSs like this one with mapping features and the digital cards you need to put the mapping feature into the GPS can both be quite pricey. If you are on a budget, there are models like the Garmin eTrex SE that don't have mapping features. They're a good entry-level GPS, but they don't provide mapping features. They just give you direction and coordinates, so they'd be great to incorporate with a map and compass. Integrating a GPS with a map and compass is really quite simple, but there are a few important things you need to know and understand to make it work. So what do I need to know if I want to use my GPS with a map and compass? Well, there's really just three critical elements. You need to understand the geodetic datum, what grid system you're using, and you need to know how to locate yourself on that grid with the coordinates provided by the GPS. First, you need to set the datum of your GPS to the same datum as your map, and then also set the coordinate system in the GPS to the same coordinate system as on your map. And lastly, you're going to have to know how to take that coordinate system from your GPS and find that location on the map. The coordinate system most commonly used on topographic maps is the UTM grid system, or Universal Transverse Mercator. That is the system that I'm most familiar with. It's on all the maps that I use, but I am aware that there are some other systems out there. A map is just a model of the world, but the map is flat and the world is round, and so we've got some challenges. We need to fit a model of the world that can be made flat and still give us a relatively accurate measurement in any direction. Most of us think of the world as a nice big round sphere, but it's not a perfect sphere. It's actually an ellipsoid, a squished down version of a sphere that's fatter in the middle than it is tall. That's the first step in mapping, developing a model for the best general fit of the world. The next step is to consider all the lumpiness and irregularities of the planet. The planet is really not a sphere. It's really not an ellipsoid. It's a geoid. It's like a potato, if you will. It's lumpy. It's got irregular surface. And the best model you have of that irregular surface and that general shape of the world, the more accurate your mapping products are going to be. So to generalize, the datum is the formula that's used to locate features that are on the real world onto a map in the most accurate way possible that compensates for that general shape of the planet, but also the local irregularities. As promised, we're going to use the UTM grid system in this video. The UTM coordinate system is based on a 1 kilometer square grid system which covers the whole world. More accurately, it is applied to 60 different zones around the world. The UTM grid uses the transverse Mercator map projection so that the distortion of shapes on your map is minimized. I talked about the UTM system and the projection system in this video right here, so if you want to learn more, go right there. So let's get back to datum. How are they created? Well, older geodetic datums used for mapping were based on survey systems. These early survey systems created a datum for specific regions of the globe. If you were to make a topographic map from scratch, what you want is a final map where you can measure horizontal distances on that map from point to point in any direction that would be reasonably accurate. To create maps like this, you first need accurate surveys and to link those surveys up into larger survey networks. In the process of mapping, you're going to use the control points established by the surveys as anchors for features that you draw on the maps. In North America, the first such maps were made from the North American datum of 1927. We call this NAD 27. Technology has advanced way beyond those early survey-based datums. Today, geodetic datums are based on satellite sensing and imagery, as well as accurate GPS survey points and base stations. The first such datum in North America is the North American Datum of 1983, or NAD 83. This new datum corrected some of the distortions that was found in NAD 27, and it's considered much more accurate. These first and second generation datums were designed for specific parts of the world. In North America, we had NAD 27 and NAD 83. In Europe, they had ETRS 89, and before that, ED 50. And in Australia, they used GDA 94. Now there's even a World Geodetic System that's been through 4 different versions, the most common of which is WGS 84. To navigate, you don't need to understand all that detail in history, but what you do need to know is that you want your GPS set to the same geodetic datum and grid reference system as your map was made with. So the first thing you want to do is take a look at your map, take a look in the margins. There's lots of extra information in the margins. This one here specifies Universal Transverse Mercator Grid, Zone 16, so I know what my grid system is. And it's kind of hard to find the geodetic datum. There actually is a conversion printed on here, but the original version of this map was printed before 1983, so I know that this is NAD 27. But the challenge I have is that my GPS is not set to NAD 27 or the UTM grid. If I go to Reset Settings and punch that in, I'm going to find that the default settings for this GPS is WGS 84 and the lat long coordinate system. So you need to go into the settings on your GPS and adjust the datum and coordinate settings themselves. On this Garmin eTrex, I simply go to my main menu and find Position Format. I click that, and from there I set NAD 27 as my datum, and I change the grid coordinate system from lat long to UTM. So for sure, the newer datums are considered more accurate than the older ones, and you might be inclined to use NAD 83 with your GPS, but if you do, it's not going to fit with an older map that was made with NAD 27. It just won't work. You're going to be off by quite a bit. In fact, in this area, it's more than 200 meters. I can check that with the GPS. I can lock it in to NAD 27, find my coordinates, adjust it to NAD 83, and take those new coordinates, and I can measure the distance. And in this case, I'm off more than 200 meters. And that's actually confirmed by my map. My map was first printed before 83, but this printing was after 83. So it actually has a coordinate conversion from NAD 27 to NAD 83. And if I look at this, it says to adjust my northing by 210 meters and my easting by 0. So 210 meters is quite a lot. If I'm 210 meters off in the forest, I'm pretty lost by my own standards. Once you have your GPS datum and grid set to match your map, you're good to go. So now all I have to do is get the GPS to show me where I am in terms of the UTM grid. And to do that, I'm just going to select a waypoint, and up comes my UTM grid information right away. The first number is 16. That's the UTM zone that I'm in. That's followed by the letter U, which is the subzone of the larger zone. You really don't need the U, but it is there. After that comes a couple numbers. The first is the easting and the second is the northing. Easting always comes first, and my easting is 0295103. My northing is 5364712. Next, I look at the bottom left corner of my map and find where the UTM grid starts on this map, and I have the number 278000. That tells me that I'm west of the central meridian of the zone. The central meridian of all the UTM zones is 500,000, and if you're less than 500,000, you're west of that central meridian. So that's 278, and my coordinates here are 2795. So what I need to do is read across the bottom, 278, 279, 280, all the way up here to 295. I'm going to be just west of this UTM grid line here. Let me show you that one more time. If you look in the lower corner, in fact, all the corners have these numbers, you'll find the numbers that correspond with the UTM grid. We're looking for the blue numbers that match the blue grid. In the corner, you'll find 278000, and notice that the 78 is in a larger font than the other digits. And remember, we're looking for 295103. So we're going to start with 7, 8, and we're going to count across the bottom of the map until we have 9, 5. That 9, 5 is in a larger font, so it replaces the 7, 8, and you really have 2, 9, 5, 0, 0, 0. So now I know my position is somewhere east of the UTM grid line that matches up with 9, 5. In fact, it's 103 meters east of that line. Next, I need to locate myself on the map in terms of the northing. Again, go to the bottom corner of the map. You'll find where the northing starts for this map. I have 5349000. The northing tells you how far you are north of the equator. So this tells me that I'm 5.3 million meters north of the equator plus change. My coordinate is 5364, so I count up from there. 5349. I go all the way up. I actually have to flip my map. 5364. So I'm just north of that line there. So again, let's take a different look at this. Look at the bottom corner. We're looking for those blue numbers that run horizontally, and the map starts at 5349000. Now I'm looking for 5364712. So I want to replace the 49 with 64, and I look up the map until I find 64. That represents 5364000. Now I know I'm somewhere north of the grid line that intersects with 5364000. In fact, I'm 712 meters north of that line. I now know that I'm north and east of the intersection of these two lines, somewhere in this 1 kilometer grid square. So now I know that I'm somewhere in this grid square right here. I can now use the remainder of the digits to find my position even more accurately. I can first eyeball it if I want, if that's enough for me, or I can be even more accurate using my compass. This is a 1 to 50,000 scale map, and on my compass I have a 1 to 50,000 grid reference. All I have to do is overlay that grid reference onto my map, and I can more accurately find my location. So this is how this works. We're going to use the scale from the compass to help us estimate the distances a little more accurately, both east and north. The first measurement is about 103 meters, so we're going to go to the first major tick mark. That's about 100 meters, and we're going to just guess 3 more meters. Next, we need to go 712 meters north, so we're going to go to the 7th major tick mark, representing 700 meters, and we're going to estimate an additional 12 meters from there. So with the most accuracy possible, this is exactly where we are on this map. Now that I know exactly where I am on this map, I can turn off my GPS, put it in my pocket, conserve those batteries, and I can plot a course with my map and compass, and I'm on my way. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. As always, I'll see you in the next one.